My bad. Welcome back to another video. It's another study video. I wanted to study the philosophy of logic a little bit. Heard about it in jail, basically. Don't know if it's real or not, but I heard about it. I did do psychology research. It's probably the last one for today. Last one for this recording. Last one for a little bit. But I might just do some gaming or something else a lot of times. So we'll do a little bit of it, maybe like a 5 to 10 minute video. But for now, let me just try to put a stopwatch for me so I can fucking see how much time I spend. Let's get into it. Philosophy, logic. I can't even see. There we go. Let's see. So we'll go with the basic AI overview. It's pretty knowledgeable AI. We'll go to some articles, specifically these two that I already looked at a little bit. Not read them into thoroughly. I think I read the Wikipedia a little bit, but so we'll do the AI. Philosophy of logic is the study of logic and its role in philosophy, including the philosophical problems it raises and how it applies to philosophical questions. The goal is to set the validity of logical methods in solving real-world problems and to help philosophers make more nuanced determinations about truth, right and wrong, and sound reasoning. Logic is the study of correct reasoning and includes both formal and informal logic. The four main types of logic are using deductive and inductive reasoning to make arguments and aims to help people argue more reasonably and avoid fallacies. Formal logic uses syllogisms to make inferences and explains how conclusions follow from premises based on the structure of arguments alone. Philosophy of logic also studies how logical methods can be applied to philosophical questions in fields like epistemology, metaphysics, and ethics. For example, modal logic is a type of logic that represents statements about necessity and possibility, and it used in philosophy to understand concepts like knowledge, obligation, and causation. Okay, so the way I perceive it is particularly logic is philosophy, obviously, philosophy of logic. And I think the one part of it that I think is big right here is these right here is particular. I don't even know if you can highlight this really. Highlight this in yellow. Oh, okay. Need to allow that. Alright, close it out. I don't know if this is gonna help with. It's not based on. Let's see. Fuck, I can't do it. Well, if I can't do it one more time, I just want you to know that this is what I mean. Truth, right, and wrong. So, truth, right and wrong, and sound reasoning. And the basis of that is basically for the truth, obviously one, right and wrong, and sound reasoning. I think truth really specifies, it is more a general, you can use this basically for a lot of questions about life and everything. And I use it mostly more than psychology, which I think both go hand in hand. I think I'm going to research psychology a lot more, or at least think about it more thoroughly than do a philosophy of logic, because I'm not going to criticize it too much, but philosophy is still philosophy. You know, it's not really a study, deliberate. It's more of a question. But then the logic part of it kind of says, okay, maybe it's not as much of a different thing. But I'll go into study of it as well. I'll go to study of it. Well, actually, let's just do that right now. Study. Maybe that will actually help a little bit more. This might be more of a what I'm thinking about. This still kind of goes philosophy as well. Okay, so this is probably the one I really want to do more in, because I already do know a lot about philosophy. We'll go back and forth real quick. The study of logic or formal science is the study of laws and thoughts, valid inference, and correct reasoning. It is a topic neutral investigation of how conclusions follow from premises regardless of the subject matter. Logic is considered a branch of both philosophy and mathematics, and to a lesser extent computer science. There are several types of logic, including formal logic, use syllogisms to make inference, examining conclusion. We kind of read this already, but based on the structure of arguments alone, formal logic is a concern with inference forms, distinguishing between valid and invalid ones, and exploring the relationship between valid forms. We kind of read these two already in the other one. It may be a little bit different nuance. Informal logic uses deductive and inductive reasoning to make arguments and focusing on finding logic within normal, real-life language. Inductive reasoning involves using specific instances to derive general principles or patterns which can then be applied to make predictions. Logic is a complex theoretical study that uses rules and definitions to develop abstract concepts that can be applied in the real world. I'm not gonna do that. The fucking following. In the real world, many fields rely on the application of logic, including math, science, law, philosophy, computer science, ontology, and psychology. So I'm gonna look up philosophy. Definition. I don't know. The study of fundamental nature of knowledge, reality exists, especially when considered as an academic discipline. Alright, meaning, definition, nature, branches. So for me, beforehand, I always thought philosophy was sort of I guess it could be more definitive for you. I always thought philosophy for me was definitively a sort of like a questionable thing, just questioning things. In which it does imply an inference and everything, which is important, but we'll get back into that in a little bit. Logic is often seen as study of laws of thoughts, correct reasoning, valid inference, or logical truth. It is a formal science that investigates how conclusions follow from premises in a topical, neutral manner, independent of the specific subject matter discussed. So this is philosophy of logic here, and this might be going into more study of logic and everything. Philosophy could mean the study as well. I think more of the terms nowadays is philosophy rather than study, because philosophy is an outside predicament for people that are not really studying it, and that's really the bigger thing about college and studying outside of college. But people don't really think, and they don't know this, that philosophy is being labeled that for many things nowadays, because not a lot of people have the opportunities to go to college, and you'll see that more often. Like in the present day, that's what's important. Now, there's different methods to get rich and everything. First, you want to get money, and you might want to do that, and then you could go to school later on or something, because loans aren't going to be a big. Some people who know how to handle loans and everything is a bigger thing. And like I said, studying, I know these things, and I gotta just kind of get into it. I could do economics as well. We could research economics, which I would be really fond of as well. Actually, I will do that. I will write that down now. See if I can write it down. Google Keep. Oops, I didn't want to go on the fucking website, but topics, studies, economics. So we'll do economics right now. That'd be a good one to talk about. I think that'd be fun. Anyway, this chair's not the most comfortable. I need a better chair, to be honest. This chair's old too, but I do want to sit. I do want to do this, so. I could do it on my bed as well, but without the mic, so. Not right now, though. I just want to get used to me shit on the chair and everything. People also ask, what is the study of logic? So, philosophy of logic is the study of philosophical perspective of the nature types of logic, including problems in the field and relation of logic to mathematics and other disciplines. Alright, well, this is kind of separate a little bit. We'll do this more specifically. Logic. This is a big Wikipedia, so we'll try to get through most of it. There's a lot, though. Lots and lots and lots. Alright, we'll try to get through some of it, most of it. We could continue this some other time. I want to just... Oops, I didn't want to go back on that. We do research. From Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. The article is about the study of correct reasoning for logic. The study of correct reasoning further sees logic dismogation, logical and logically redirect here. For the rapper, see logic. For the British company, see logically. Okay. Logic is the study of correct reasoning. It includes both formal and informal logic. Formal logic is a study of deductively valid inferences, or logical truth. It examines how conclusions follow from premises due to the structure of arguments alone, independent of their topic and content. Informal logic is also associated with informal fallacies, critical thinking, argumentation theory. Informal logic examines arguments expressed in natural language, while formal logic uses formal language. When used as a countable noun, the term of logic refers to a logical formal system that articulates a proof system. Okay, logic plays a central role in many fields such as philosophy, mathematics, computer science, and linguistics. This is specifically what I learned in jail a little bit, especially the proof part of it, and I've been trying to look for something along these lines particularly, but finding it now is really good. See if the dark theme is better. No, I like the light theme. The dark kind of looks dark, fucking Darth Vader type shit. Logic studies arguments, which consists of a set of premises together with the conclusion. An example of argument is argument from the premises, it's Sunday, and if it's Sunday, then I don't have to work. To the conclusion, I don't have to work. That's an important piece too, in everyday logic as well. We use it every day. That could be more advanced in terms of certain things, as yes or no. Premises and conclusion express propositions or claims that can be true or false in a work. An important feature of proposition is their internal structure. For example, complex propositions are made of simpler propositions linked to biological vocabulary like this and or if then. Simple propositions also have parts like Sunday or work in the example. The truth of proposition usually, I think that means like you put two words here. See the truth of proposition usually depends on the meaning of all its parts. Whether this is not the case for logically true propositions, they are true only because of the logical structure independent of the specific meanings and of individual parts. Arguments can be either correct or incorrect. An argument is correct if its premises supports its conclusion. Deductive arguments have the strongest form of support. If their premises are true, then their conclusion might also be true. This is not the case for ampliative arguments, which arrive at genuinely new information not found in the premises. Many arguments in everyday discourse and the sciences are ampliative arguments. They are divided into inductive and deductive arguments. Inductive arguments for statistical generalization, such as inferring that all ravens are black based on many individual observations of black ravens. Adductive arguments are inferences to the best explanation. For example, when a doctor concludes that a patient has a certain disease which explains the symptoms they suffer. Arguments that fall short of the standards of correct reasoning often embody fallacies. Systems of logic are theoretical frameworks for assessing the correctness of arguments. I think that's one important piece is that outside of just mental health, it's important to add the logical aspect of the symptoms you're dealing with. When you add the logical instances of the symptoms you're dealing with, it tends to be more it can explain more to you that you're doing it the way you're going to do this and everything. That makes sense. I didn't really explain that, but you're going to do something due to the symptoms, and that's how logical works. It could be used for all forms of symptoms and everything. Not saying for sure, but it's important to know that knowledge is a part of our lives as well. But always take your meds and everything, guys. So don't trip on that. What did I say over there? Did I say this? Okay, I already did that. Logic has been studied since antiquity. Earlier approaches include Aristotelian logic, Stoic logic, Monism. They do some of these ones. We'll look into these some other time, but Aristotelian logic focuses on reasoning in the form of syllogisms. It was considered to be the main system of logic in the Western world until it was replaced by modern formal logic, which has its root in the work of 19th century mathematicians such as Gottlob Frege. Today, the most used system is classical logic. It consists of propositional logic and first-order logic. Propositional logic only considers logical relations between four propositions. First-order logic also takes the internal parts of propositions into account, like predicates and quantifiers. Extended logic accepts the basic intuitions behind classical logic and extend it to other fields such as metaphysics, ethics, and epistemology. Deviant logic, on the other hand, rejects certain classical intuitions and provide alternative explanations of the basic laws of logic. The word logic originates from the word logos, which has a variety of translations such as reason, discourse, or language. Logic is traditionally defined as the study of the laws of thought or correct reasoning, and is usually understood in terms of inferences or arguments. Reasoning is the activity of drawing inferences. Arguments are the outward expression of inferences, and an argument is a set of premises together with a conclusion. Logic is interesting in whether arguments are correct, whether their premises support a conclusion. These general characterizations apply to logic in the widest sense to both formal and informal logic, since they both considered when assessing correctness of arguments. Formal logic is a traditionally dominant field, and some logicians restrict logic to formal logic. I think it's a big part in terms of how you think as well. Particularly with me, I do think a lot of dreaminess, a lot dreamier, and that's harder for me to put my logic on. But we are using logic every 24/7 in most instances, so it's important to study this stuff. And I'm glad that you're studying with me. Appreciate it, guys. Formal logic, further information, formal system. Formal logic is also known as symbolic logic and is widely used in mathematical logic. It uses a formal approach to study reasoning. It replaces concrete expression with abstract symbols to examine the logical form of arguments independent of their concrete content. In this set is a topic neutral, since it is also only concerned with the abstract structure of arguments and not with their concrete content. Formal logic is interested in deductively valid arguments for which the truth of their premises ensures the truth of their conclusion. This means that it is impossible for the We'll do this one more. We'll do formal and informal. Try to do that. I think that'll be the last two we fuck with. I shouldn't, cause sorry, excuse me. We do for sure. What was I saying? Wait, it approaches study reason in spaces. I forgot where is that. The logical structure premise includes following patterns of rule of inference. For example, modulus ponens is a rule of inference according to which all arguments of the form if P then Q, therefore Q are valid independent of what the terms P and Q stand for. In this sense, formal logic can be defined as the science of valid inferences. An alternative definition sees logic as the study of logical truth. A proposition is logically true if its truth depends only on the logical vocabulary used in it. This means that it is true in all possible worlds and under all interpretation of its non-logical terms, like to claim either it's raining or it's not. Those two definitions of formal logic are not identical, but they are closely related. For example, if the inference from P to Q is deductively valid, then claim if P then Q is a logical truth. That's a big one too. I think that's important for everyday logic as well. Formal logic uses formal language to express and analyze arguments. They normally have a very limited vocabulary, exact syntactic rules. These rules specify how the symbols can be combined to construct sentences, so-called well-formed formulas. Then simplicity and exactness of formal logic make it capable of formulating precise rules of inference to determine whether a given argument is valid. Because of the reliance on formal language, natural language arguments cannot be studied directly. Instead, they are used to be translated into formal language because before their validity can be accessed. The term logic can also be used in slight different senses. Countable noun in the sense of logic is a formal system. Distinct logic differ from each other concerning the rules of inference they accept as valid in the formal languages used to express them. Starting in the late 19th century, many known formal systems have been proposed. There are disagreements about what makes a formal system a logic. For example, it has been suggested that only logically complete systems like first-order logics qualify as logics. For such reason, some theorists deny that the higher-order logics are logics in the strict sense. I think that means scientific versus, calculus, scientific maybe versus religiously, maybe, I don't know. Do this last one. I'll definitely do this again, guys. Don't worry. Informal logic. Main article. Informal logic. When understood in a wide sense, logic encompasses both formal and informal logic. Informal logic uses non-formal criteria and standards to analyze the assess the correctness of arguments. Its main focus is on everyday discourse. Its development was prompted by difficulties in applying the insights of formal logic to natural language arguments. In this regard, it's considered problems that formal logic on its own is unable to address. Both provide criteria for assessing the correctness of arguments and distinguishing them from fallacies. Many characterizations of formal logic have been suggested, but there's no general agreement on its precise definition. The most literal approach sees the terms formal and informal as applying to the language to use to express arguments. On this view, informal logic studies arguments that are informal or natural language. Formal logic can only examine them indirectly by translating them first into formal language, which informal logic investigates them in their original form. On this view, argument birds fly, Tweety is a bird, therefore Tweety flies, belongs to the natural language examined by informal logic, but the formal translation one, that bird X flies X bird, Tweety flies Tweety. Okay. The study by formal logic. The study of natural language arguments come with various difficulties. For example, natural language expressions are often ambiguous, vague, and context dependent. Another approach defines informal logic as a wide sense of normative study of the standards, criteria, and procedures of argumentation. In this sense, it includes questions about the role of rationality, critical thinking, and the psychology of argumentation. Another characterization identifies informal logic with the study of non-deductive arguments. In this way, it contrasts with deductive reasoning examined by formal logic. Non-deductive arguments make their conclusion probable, but do not ensure that it is true. An example in deductive argument from the empirical observation that all ravens I have seen are so far are black to the conclusion all ravens are black. A further approach is to define informal logic as a study of informal fallacies. Informal fallacies are incorrect arguments in which errors are present in the context of your argument. A false dilemma, for example, involves an error of content by excluding variable options. This is the case of fallacy. You're either with us or against us. You are not with us, therefore you are against us. Some theories say that formal logic studies the general form of arguments, which informal logic studies particular instances of argument. That's true. That's true. That's like it's like black and white or gray. That's what makes sense. Some like blue and red or gray, fucking Jedi shit. But some theories say that formal logic studies the general form of arguments, which informal logic studies particular instances of argument. Another approach is to hold that formal logic only considers the role of logical constants for correct inferences, while informal logic also takes the meaning of substantive concepts into account. Further approaches focus on the discussion of logical topics with or without formal devices on a role of epistemology for the assessment of arguments. Alright, that was a lot of reading. I really enjoyed that though. I really learned a lot about philosophy of logic, more in depth. That was really good. Specifically more logic though, but still nonetheless. And we'll go to basic concepts some other episode. I don't know, I'm gonna just probably label these episodes the topic. Try to get the topic down. I think that's really good. And I think the next thing we're gonna study is economics. I think the next video I'm gonna make is probably fan fiction readings, or that's more important for me right now. But I really did enjoy this. So if you learned something from it, I do appreciate it. See you in the next video.